Hey guys, this is Lee with Hooked on Bass, and I am going to talk about a subject that is a little bit controversial, and it's crankbait rod setup. I'll talk about the reel and the rod. There is tons of different rods out there, especially with crankbaits. It's important to have the right setup. All right, with a crankbait, when the fish hits, we want it to load up a little bit. If I'm using a really stiff rod, then it is going to rip the hooks right out of its mouth. So whenever I do a crankbait rod, I do a glass rod. The glass is a lot more flexible and whippy. You're going to get a little bit further cast. So people will go as high as 7 foot 10 inches. The longer the rod, the further the cast, but the less accuracy. With this, I did a 7 foot 5 inch because I'm still going to get a long cast, but I want to have a little bit more accuracy with my cast. And I'll use this with all my crankbaits. This is a medium crankbait. I can use this with deep diving crankbaits. I can use this with my lipless crankbaits. And side note, guys, if you want a good crankbait box, the Plano Edge 3700 is just absolutely money. It's deep, water wick. It keeps the water out. You're not going to have rust. This is an awesome crankbait box. Okay, so this rod does, it is medium heavy, 10 to 20 pounds, 1/4 to 1 ounce. I have learned through experience that if the rod says that it can only support a lure up to 1 ounce, do not go over 1 ounce. I've had rods, I had 2 rods in one day that I used a plug that was bigger than what it said it could handle, and I snapped both rods. So I don't mess around with that anymore. So everything in here can go on here. I'm getting good accurate cast. This is the Enigma Atomic 29. It's a glass rod, awesome rod. As far as my reel, on all crankbaits, you want a high-speed reel. So I don't do anything less than 7/2 to 1. You can also go 8/2 to 1, and that just means that when you're reeling, you're going to get more line in per turn. All right, so you want high-speed reels with your crankbaits. So I have a Quantum here. I love Quantum. They last really well. And I have a 7 foot 5 inch glass rod, the Enigma, and it's an awesome setup, and I'm catching a lot of fish on it. So that's what I do. Let me know what you do in the comments down below. And check us out on Instagram, Hooked on Bassin, Facebook, same thing. And check out our blog at hookedonbassin.com, and I'll have a lot of written content in there also.